You did not open this by accident. Something in you stopped, turned back and said, listen, that matters. Because when a message keeps finding you through noise, through distraction, through your tired mind trying to move on, it usually means one truth is asking to be heard at last. Maybe you have tried to be reasonable. Maybe you told yourself it was nothing, just a phase, just memory, just loneliness wearing a beautiful mask. But even after all that, the feeling stayed. It followed you into quiet moments. It touched your chest at random times. It returned in dreams, in songs, in the strange silence between one thought and the next. And here is the part you need to hear first. Some connections do not disappear because they were never shallow to begin with. Some people enter your life and change the whole temperature of your inner world. Not because they belong to fantasy, but because they wake up something ancient, something waiting, something your soul recognized before your mind could explain it. Stay with me, because this is where it gets deeper. What if the feeling that refuses to leave is not here to torment you, but to guide you? What if the bond you keep questioning is the very thing trying to lead you back to your own truth? And what if the silence, the distance, the confusion, all of it, is not the end of the story at all, but the pressure before a door opens? Listen closely, because the next part may explain what your heart has known for longer than you realize. For a long time, you may have carried this in private. You smiled in public, you kept busy, you answered messages, handled work, did what you had to do. But inside, there was another world moving. A world full of questions. A world full of signs you did not know how to talk about without sounding dramatic, foolish, or too intense for people who have never felt what you have felt. So you stayed quiet. You learned to hide the depth of it. Yet that inner voice never truly went away. In fact, the more you tried to silence it, the stronger it became. That is because some truths do not shrink when ignored. They wait. They return. They rise at the exact moment your soul is ready to hear them. And this is important. You did not invent the weight of this connection. You did not imagine the way it kept calling your attention back. You did not create the strange certainty that there is more here than ordinary attraction or temporary emotion. Something real has been moving beneath the surface, something steady, something deeper than your fear. Your mind, shaped by old pain, wants proof, wants control, wants a clean explanation. But your soul does not speak that way. It speaks in pull, in peace, in repetition, in a knowing that survives long after logic has run out of words. If this is hitting you hard, do not scroll away from yourself now, because the signs of a true bond are not loud performances, they are quiet recognitions, and once you see them clearly, you cannot pretend not to know anymore. A real soul-level connection does not begin with chaos alone. It often begins with recognition. Not always comfort at first, but recognition. A sense that something in you has seen this energy before. A feeling that this person somehow touched parts of you that had been asleep for years. Maybe being near them made time feel strange. Maybe their absence felt louder than other people's presence ever did. Maybe even after distance, even after silence, even after every sensible reason to let it fade, the thread remained. That thread matters. Because passing desire usually weakens when it is not fed. Ego-based attachment becomes noisy, demanding, unstable. But a deeper bond has a different quality. It can ache, yes, but beneath the ache, there is often a strange calm, a quiet knowing, a peace that says what is real does not need panic to survive. That is one of the clearest signs. Not obsession alone, but the presence of meaning. Not fantasy alone, but transformation. This connection did not just make you want someone. It made you face yourself. It showed you wounds. It exposed fears. It revealed where you were still seeking validation, still afraid of abandonment, still unsure of your own worth. That is why it feels bigger than romance. It acts like a mirror. It does not simply pull you toward another person. It pulls you toward your own becoming, and that is why it can feel overwhelming. Because what you call love may also be awakening. What you call longing may also be a call to grow. Watch this part closely because most people miss it. The connection is not only about who they are, it is also about who you are becoming because they crossed your path. Then comes the question that sits heavy in the chest. If this bond is real, why the distance? Why the silence? Why the unfinished feeling, the stop and start rhythm, the sense that something powerful was opened and then left hanging in the air? It is a painful question, but the answer may be gentler than your fear allows. Some connections pause not because they are false, but because they are not ready to be held yet. Timing matters. Depth without readiness can become destruction. Intensity without healing can become confusion. Two people can feel something true and still be unable to live it in a healthy way if old wounds are still steering the heart. That is why distance sometimes enters like a difficult teacher. Not to erase the bond, but to refine the people inside it. The pause gives space for hidden patterns to rise. Fear of rejection, fear of intimacy, pride, control, emotional immaturity, the need to run before being hurt, the habit of hiding behind silence. All of this must come into the light. And yes, it hurts. It hurts because distance forces you to meet yourself without the comfort of constant contact. It asks whether you can stand in your own life without making the connection your entire identity. It teaches you to build inner steadiness, not just emotional hope. Do not miss this. The separation may feel like abandonment, but often it is preparation in disguise. Not easy preparation, real preparation. The kind that strips away illusion and leaves you with what is solid. Keep listening because this changes how you see everything that happened. The pause was not empty. It was working on both of you, even when nothing seemed to move. While you were learning to hold your own heart more carefully, something was also unfolding on the other side of this bond. Silence does not always mean absence of feeling. Sometimes it means the feeling became too strong for a person who was not ready to face it honestly. What looks like indifference can hide inner conflict. What looks like distance can hide fear. Some people do not know how to handle a connection that reaches beyond surface comfort. So they avoid, they delay, they distract themselves, they pretend timing was wrong, or circumstances were too complicated, or the feeling was not that deep. But truth has a way of wearing down every false explanation. It waits in memory. It returns in unexpected moments. It grows louder in quiet rooms. And eventually the person who ran from it begins to realize they were not escaping you. They were escaping themselves. That is when the real struggle begins. Their pride starts cracking. Their usual defenses stop working. The stories they told themselves no longer bring relief. And the silence they chose becomes heavy instead of safe. This is why you must be careful not to interpret every quiet period as a final answer. Some battles happen far from your sight. Some awakenings look like withdrawal before they look like movement. If they are being forced to face their own patterns, the process may not be graceful. It may be messy, slow, and deeply uncomfortable. But discomfort can be holy when it leads to truth. And if you have been sensing that something is shifting beneath the surface, do not dismiss it too quickly. Energy changes before behavior does. Inner surrender happens before outer action. And sometimes the unseen part is where the most important change begins. There is often a dark night in a connection like this. A season where ego loses its grip inch by inch. A season where both people are brought face to face with what they fear most. For one, it may be rejection. For the other, vulnerability. For one, it may be loneliness. For the other, loss of control. But the purpose of that dark season is not cruelty, it is truth. The masks cannot survive there. The polished image cannot survive there. The easy excuses cannot survive there. Life begins stripping away whatever was false, whatever was performed, whatever was protecting the person from feeling the full reality of the bond. This is why the quiet can feel charged. It is not always rest. It is often inner collapse before renewal. They may be confronting memories they tried to bury. They may be seeing how deeply you affected them. They may be feeling the cost of their own avoidance. And at the same time, you are being asked to release your old dependence on outcomes, your old need to control how and when things happen, your old habit of measuring your worth by someone else's response. This matters more than you think. Because if the two of you meet again without real inner change, the same fears will rebuild the same walls. The cycle will repeat. That is why healing is not a side story here. It is the story. If your heart has been tired, hear this clearly. The breaking down is not pointless. The unraveling is not random. Something is being cleared so that if love returns, it can return on stronger ground. And that next part, the return itself, does not happen the way most people imagine. When real movement begins, it rarely arrives as a confusing half-signal. It becomes clearer, more direct, more grounded, not because the bond has become less deep, but because the people involved are becoming more honest. The turning point comes when the pain of staying away becomes heavier than the fear of coming closer. Read that again in your heart. There is a moment when avoidance stops feeling like protection and starts feeling like loss. A moment when the soul gets tired of running in circles. A moment when pride no longer tastes like strength. That is when change becomes possible. Not a temporary rush. Not a midnight impulse built on nostalgia. Something steadier, something humbler, something real. If they return from truth, their energy will feel different, less guarded, less performative, less confusing. Their words will not need to dance around what they feel. Their presence will carry weight. Their actions will stop contradicting their heart. This is the difference between someone missing attention and someone surrendering to what is true. And you must understand this too. A true turning point is not just about them coming back. It is also about you being able to receive from a place of wholeness instead of hunger. Because if they approach and you are still ruled by fear, resentment, or desperation, the old pattern can be reactivated in a single moment. So do not rush the ending in your mind. Let it ripen. Let clarity speak for itself. And stay with this, because the next piece is powerful. The signs you have been noticing may not be random at all. They may be part of the way life has been preparing your attention for what comes next. Think about the signs that keep repeating. Not every passing coincidence, but the ones that land with unusual force. A dream that returns with the same emotional tone. A song that appears at exact moments when you are thinking of them. A place, a symbol, a number, a phrase, a sudden memory that arrives with a feeling too sharp to ignore. The world has strange ways of echoing what the soul is already processing, and while not every sign should be turned into a prophecy, some are invitations to pay attention. The real question is not only what sign appeared, it is what the sign awakened in you. Did it create peace or panic? Did it deepen your clarity or feed obsession? This is how you tell the difference between intuition and fear. Fear tightens, it rushes, it demands. It turns every detail into a crisis. Intuition steadies, it opens. It brings a calm recognition, even when the truth is intense. So if there is a sign that has stayed with you again and again, do not be ashamed of the way it has touched you. Sit with it. Let it speak. Ask what it is really pointing toward. It may not only be about another person, it may also be showing you where your own path is changing, where your own heart is being refined, where your own life is asking for deeper honesty. That is why signs matter most when they call you inward, not just outward. Do not skip this truth. The connection may be real, but its deepest purpose is still to wake you up, not put you to sleep inside fantasy. And once you understand that, you stop chasing crumbs. You begin listening at a higher level. Now comes the part most people resist. Readiness. Everyone talks about reunion, but far fewer people prepare for the reality of receiving what they say they want. To be ready is not to wait anxiously. It is not to rehearse conversations in your head all day. It is not to build scenes, dates, confessions, and perfect outcomes before anything has happened. Real readiness is quieter than that. It is cleaner. It is the work of making inner space. It is releasing the bitterness you have used as armor. It is letting go of the need to punish the other person in your imagination for the pain they caused. It is healing the part of you that still believes love must arrive through chaos to be real. It is deciding that if this bond returns, it will not be allowed to become a cage, a test, or a battlefield. It will meet a stronger version of you. This is why forgiveness matters, even before resolution. Not because wrong behavior should be excused, but because carrying poison in your heart will distort whatever comes next. Forgiveness is how you stop drinking from the wound. It is how you free your energy for something better. And yes, this also means releasing rigid expectations. Stop demanding that life follow the exact scene your mind wrote in secret. What is meant for you does not need your control to find you. It needs your openness. It needs your steadiness. It needs your willingness to meet truth without forcing it. Remember this line: what belongs in your life will not need panic to enter. That is not passivity, that is power. And it changes the entire way you stand in love. As you become more grounded, you may notice something surprising. The more you stop grasping, the more peace returns. The more peace returns, the sharper your intuition becomes. And the sharper your intuition becomes, the less you need outside reassurance. This is one of the quiet miracles of growth. You stop begging signs to prove your worth. You stop measuring every silence as rejection. You stop building your day around whether someone else reaches out. Instead, you return to your own center. And from there, everything looks different. You begin to understand that the greatest gift of this whole journey may not be another person's return, but the self-respect, maturity, and inner depth that grew inside you because of it. That growth is not small. It is the foundation for everything ahead. Without it, even the love you wanted could have broken under insecurity. With it, you become capable of holding connection without losing yourself inside it. That is the transformation. You were not being punished. You were being strengthened. You were being taught how to stand in your own life with an open heart and solid ground beneath your feet. That changes your energy. That changes your choices. That changes what you will accept and what you will no longer confuse with love. Stay with this final stretch because it matters. When destiny moves, it does not only bring people together, it reveals whether they can now meet at a higher level than before. And if the answer is yes, the next chapter feels very different from the last one. So if you have been feeling that something is close, do not let fear talk you out of your own knowing. Something can be near without being rushed. Something can be real without being loud. The soul often senses change before the physical world shows it clearly. That is why this period feels charged. You may feel more aware, more sensitive, more alert to dreams, patterns, inner nudges, and subtle emotional shifts. Do not let that make you frantic. Let it make you present. The strongest position is not desperate waiting, it is calm readiness. It is waking each day with your heart open but your feet on the ground. It is continuing your life, honoring your peace, and refusing to shrink back into old versions of yourself. If they return, let them meet the person you became through the fire, not the person who once begged for certainty. Let them meet your clarity. Let them meet your self-respect. Let them meet the peace you built in the silence. Because that peace is not fragile anymore. It is earned. It is sacred. And if this connection is truly moving toward its destined shift, that peace will become the place where it can finally land without breaking you. This is the key. Not just reunion. Right reunion. Not just intensity, stability, not just emotion. Truth with structure. Love with maturity. Presence without games. If you have waited this long, then let what arrives next meet you at the level you fought to reach. Anything less is not the final chapter. And yes, one more thing. The story is not asking you to chase. It is asking you to trust what has been changing inside you all along. What comes next may surprise you, but not because it was impossible. It will surprise you because part of you got used to delay, used to silence, used to carrying the bond alone in your private world. When a real shift comes, it often feels sudden only because the deeper preparation was invisible. Beneath the surface, many things have been moving. Lessons have been learned, patterns have been exposed, pride has been humbled, fear has been challenged. Your heart has been made stronger, their walls may be wearing thin, and what once looked impossible may soon look inevitable in hindsight. That is how deeper timing works. It does not always announce itself early. It builds in silence. Then one day, the truth becomes too complete to hide from. If that moment comes, meet it with grace, not with revenge, not with a long list of tests, not with the coldness your pain once promised you would use for protection. Meet it with clarity. Listen carefully. Feel fully. Stay honest with yourself. A real connection should not ask you to betray your peace in order to keep it. It should meet your peace and deepen it. That is how you will know the difference between a repeating wound and an opening destiny. So breathe. Let the old heaviness leave your body. Let the need to force answers soften. Let the future arrive in its own honest shape. You do not need to grip what is written for you. You only need to be ready enough to receive it. And if your heart has understood anything through all of this, let it be this. The long night did not come to destroy you. It came to reveal you. And what is revealed now is stronger, wiser, calmer, and finally able to walk into the next chapter with light instead of fear.